This is not exactly the video I thought I would be making, and not a video I really wanted to make, but somebody totaled my car, and today I'm going to tell you that story. So behind me here is my 2010 Ford Focus. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing special, but it is kind of special to me. This was the first car that I learned how to drive a manual on. This was my daily driver for about 3 years now. I bought it with 170,000 miles on it. It's got about 210 on it now, so I drove it for 40,000 miles. Great car to have in the winter, and great on gas, which right now was like a huge plus for me. Some of my videos on this car, I talked about it being like a financial benefit for me to have this car. This car is great to have when I had the Mustang, or now when I have the Corvette. It saved me a lot of money, so it was a great car to keep around. 4-seater, actually 5-seater, and I didn't care about it. That was kind of the whole point of this. I didn't care if this car got a little dirty. I didn't care if it had a few scratches and nicks. It was a daily driver. I didn't want to have to worry about it if I parked it on the street. I was pretty confident nobody was ever going to try to steal this thing, especially because it's a manual. It's not a real special car, but it was pretty special to me. Unfortunately, somebody decided to take that away from me. I'm gonna walk around, show you guys the extent of the damage, and then I'm gonna tell you the story about what happened. So obviously the extent of the damage is in the back here. This is the driver's side rear. It got smashed up really, really good. The trunk still locks, but it's like up a little bit. It obviously doesn't line up very well, or at all, but it does still open and close, so that still does work. The whole back tail light was just shattered, destroyed, and then obviously right here, like, you can see how this just got cut up. And my car was pushed significantly during this accident. It was pushed up against the curb as well as forward a little bit. I don't know if the person kind of bounced off, because there's more damage up there. I don't know if they either bounced off and hit it again, or they just backed up, tried to move, and then hit it again. I'm not really sure. This was a hit and run. I'll kind of get into that whole story in a little bit, but I wasn't there, so none of this was caught on camera. Unfortunately, we'll never really know what happened. Also, kind of under here, some stuff was pushed around the exhaust. It rattles a lot, so I think there was like a clip that was broken off or something like that. I'll put some pictures up here right now of the accident. You know, you can see how it got shattered, pushed. That bumper was pushed pretty good, as well as you can also see a lot of blue on that bumper. It's pretty easy to see what kind of color car this was. There's a little bit of that like still on the actual car itself, but most of that was on the bumper. I drove it around for a little while, and then the bumper was just so bad I just had to take it off. It was falling off, just dragging on the ground. So I did eventually rip that off just so I could drive it a little bit better. But you can see in those pictures that it was pretty smashed up. Kind of moving along to the front here, the whole side of my car, there's some of that blue again, was sideswiped pretty decently. All these marks down here are that tire, it looks like. And then I think this is like pushed in because my door was locked in, sort of. So this is kind of dented all here because I had to open my door, and some nicks down there as well. And obviously my mirror was just shattered, and somehow it's still holding on. Also, now the door is, it doesn't work. It doesn't shut. So something's misaligned there. So if I want to actually shut the door on this thing, I've got to come in here, turn the car on, roll down the window, and then I have to like push it up like this just so I can get the door to close. Miraculously, the back windshield did not shatter. You can see how, I can't even get like my pinky in there. That's how close the trunk was to shattering the windshield, but somehow it's still just 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters away. The front windshield is cracked. You can kind of see that right there. However, that was there before this accident even happened, and miraculously that crack didn't change just because of the accident. There's a little bit of damage up here. There's a lot of bugs, but those were not part of the accident. There's a little bit of damage up here because I actually got pushed into the car in front of me. That's how I ended up finding out that this thing got crashed. And then the last little bit of damage is on the back side here. You can see how this wheel was pushed up against the curb. So like how I said, the car got pushed, this wheel cracked because it was smashed up against the curb. It's not losing tire pressure right now, but it looks like it could in the future. Surprisingly, this car runs and drives phenomenal. It runs and drives like a top. There are no problems with it. I drove it around for about a month, and I would say about 1,000 miles because I didn't really have another car at the time, and I needed to get to work and things like that, and this was my car. So it does run and drive great. There's no issues in that realm, which is kind of surprising because these years, this is a 2010, these years are kind of known for their unreliability. So this is the story about what happened to this thing. I'm gonna start off giving you guys kind of a timeline. So this happened April 24th. That's when it happened. So it was about a month ago. I drove it for a little while. I think that this timeline is very important because it goes along with my theory about what happened. And I think this is important to mention as well. In Michigan, April is kind of the month where it starts to get nice. This Saturday, it was a beautiful, beautiful day. The first day we had that was 80 degrees. Everybody was out, and I lived in the city. I lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan, so kind of a busy place. This car was parked right in front of my house. The street I live on is kind of sort of a rough part of town. It's not great. Cars zoom down past my street. You know, I hear partying, loud music, stuff like that all the time. It's not a great area. It's not terrible. It's not like deep in the hood, but it's definitely not like a suburban paradise. That Saturday was actually the first day my roommates and I, we all went to the beach because it was the first really nice day after a very long Michigan winter. So we came back, I went to sleep. I was asleep for a couple hours. I was in a very, very, very deep sleep. At exactly 2:30, I got woken up. I definitely heard what happened outside, but I don't think I really comprehended what happened. I just heard a loud noise and that woke me up out of my sleep, but I didn't really understand how loud it was. I was really tired, so I looked at my phone and it was 2:30 in the morning. And I had to work at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I've got a couple extra hours to go to sleep. And then, so that's just what I did. In hindsight, I obviously should have looked out of my window, but I just wasn't thinking about it. My street's very loud. Loud noises, loud music happens all the time. I just kind of brushed it off. That's kind of how it is living in the city. It's loud. There's sirens all the time, police, ambulance, fire trucks, all that stuff. It's just common. So I just brushed it off and went to sleep. Around 5:45, so a couple hours later, I get a knock on my door. My neighbor is knocking on my door and he's like, hey man, your car got hit and it pushed up into mine. That's how I ended up finding out. His car was an older Tahoe, so it didn't really get much damage of anything at all. There was a couple little marks on his bumper just from me bumping into him, but his car didn't really get any damage. So at that point, I went outside, looked at my car. There was glass everywhere. It was, my taillight was shattered. The whole car, there was obviously damaged a lot. And there was a lot of debris from the accident. I picked up some of the debris, kind of just took some pictures, and at that point, I had to get going to work. So I just had one of my roommates drive me to work. Once I got home, I ended up just calling the police, and they had like a non-emergency crew come out, and then they filed an accident report. I'm gonna flash the accident report up here now so you guys can take a look at that. Maybe that'll give you like a better understanding of the situation about what happened. I did get a little bit lucky when it comes to figuring out who this potentially might be. The culprit, whoever they were or are, they left some parts on the scene. They left a big chunk of what I assume to be their front bumper or fender, and it's an obvious blue color. And also the blue color was painted all over the side of my car. So it was pretty easy to understand what kind of car that was. They also left a front passenger side fender, and that fender had a little Nissan logo on it. So there we go. We have a blue Nissan we're looking for. And as you can see, all the damage is kind of up top. So based on what the police said and what it kind of looks like, it was probably most likely an SUV. That narrows it down to a Pathfinder or something similar. So a car that's probably gonna look something like this. So good news, we're looking for a blue Nissan Pathfinder in the Grand Rapids area. However, Grand Rapids is a big city. This is not exactly high on the crime tier for the police. I doubt I'm ever gonna hear anything from them or from anybody else. I don't really think they're going to spend a whole lot of time looking. I mean, they just have bigger fish to fry. There's murders, homicides, other more important things than my little car crash. This accident happened at 2:30. Why I think that this is crucial is because all of the bars in my city close at 2 o'clock. So I think, I have no way of proving this, this is just a theory, but I think somebody was out drinking, they got drunk, decided to drive home, hit my car, and then ran off because they didn't want to get a DUI. No way of proving this, but that's just my theory. I scouted around my neighborhood for a long time, the next couple weeks or so, and I mean, I just didn't find anything. I don't know if this person just hid their car in the garage and fixed it themselves. I don't know what exactly they did with the car, but every time I'm around, I just kind of look all over the place to see if I happen to see a Nissan Pathfinder with front passenger side damage. So whoever that was out drinking and hit my car, you suck. This car is not really worth a whole lot of money, so it's not really big financial loss. Unfortunately, I didn't have full coverage insurance on this. I spoke to my agent and she basically said the only way I could get covered at all for this thing is if they find out who did this, so that way we can go based off their insurance. So unfortunately, from an insurance perspective, I'm shit out of luck. So yeah, this is gonna cost me some money. I'm not fixing the car. I'm actually going right now to take it to Motor City Auto Auction. So they're just gonna auction this car off. They have an auction there that kind of deals with like crashed vehicles or police cars or like things like that that they get from the police department. So that's probably where this thing is gonna end up. But from a financial standpoint, that's probably our best bet. It kind of sucks because the whole point of this car was to save me money, and now here it is costing me money because somebody hit it. I know it sucks, but we still have to count our blessings in a situation like this. I'm alive, I'm well, I wasn't in the car. As far as I know, nobody was injured, so I guess that's a plus. As far as getting a new car, I don't think I'm gonna get anything quite yet. I don't really have a few grand laying around to buy a new car yet, so I'd say maybe about a month, 2 months down the line. At that point, I'll start looking at other dailies. But on my daily checklist, I'm looking for something that's good on gas mileage because gas is through the roof right now. Something kind of similar to this so that I can drive and not really worry about it too much. Just a car to drive. I was kind of looking at maybe a Civic or something similar. Just kind of something similar like this, like an economy car. But right now, we're going to the auto auction to drop this thing off. We're here, Motor City Auto Auction. Look at those gas prices though. Here we go. So we're back at home now. I listed the Focus up for sale. I put a minimum bid on it for $500. So hopefully we get at least a little bit of money that we can put back into other projects or do something with or whatever. While I'm here, I'm gonna give you a sneak peek of a new car that we are adding to the channel. I didn't personally buy this, my brother bought this, but it's still gonna be around a lot. There it is. That's your sneak peek, that's your guess. Let me know what you think it might be in the comments below. I'm looking at it right now and it's a pretty sweet ride. New videos on the channel every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30. Thank you guys for tuning in and I'll see you in the next one.